Hello, and welcome back to Tiny Artist TV. So, since today is a Saturday, we are going to be doing a Saturday morning shuffle. And following the theme of last Saturday morning shuffle where we did Pokemon fusions, this weekend I want to do real animal fusions. So basically I'm going to be using the wo-orld app to give me two random animals, and I'm going to be fusing them to create a new fantasy type creature. I'm also going to be using the plethora of palettes that I have generated over the past few months and randomly selecting a palette. Let me just show you guys what we're working with here. So these are all of the palettes that I have made on a whim. With the exception of the first three, the Basilisk, the Hydra, and the Kraken. Those were for March of Robots when I was picking the color palette for those. But the rest of these, I was just having fun with the app, so I figured, well, since I have all of these wonderful color palettes to choose from, I'm going to be picking one from each column, so that means we're going to be doing 4 animal fusions today. And I do have my random number generator up here, so based on whatever number I get, that's what palette we're going to get for each animal. And then again, excuse me, like I said, I'm going to be using the wo-orld app to have our randomly selected animals. So first, let's go ahead and pick our animals. So the first one looks like it's a badger, and then the second one, so instead of shuffling all of this, you can actually just select which one you want to shuffle. And so our second animal is a deer. Okay, so our first animal fusion is a badger and a deer. So then I'll go ahead and shuffle the rest of my animals, and then I'll reveal what the animal combinations are as the video goes on. But I will go ahead and roll all of our color palette combinations right now. So our first color palette is going to be number 9 in column A. So it's going to be apple pie, and I'm just going to go ahead and highlight that. Alright, and then from column D, or the next column, our color palette is going to be number 4. So because it's kind of unevenly spaced, number 4 would bump down to number 5. So that's going to be Rain and Lilies. And our third is going to be number 32. Alright, so that's going to be Strawberry Milk. And then our final animal fusion color palette is going to be number 23. Summer Girl. Okay, yeah, so these are our 4 color palettes. Let's go ahead and get started with our animal fusions. So starting out with our deer-badger combination, pretty much just picking the features that I think are the most distinct from all of these animals. A couple of combinations down, their animals are either have a very plain color palette or very distinguishable features, but not a lot that's going to make it a particularly interesting combination. I think they still end up in a cute, creepy sort of realm, but none of the other ones except for the next one really had any kind of patterning, which I was really hoping to get to animals that had some patterns, because even if I don't get to add the features of that particular animal, having the pattern would still make it a more interesting combination. So as you can see, I'm kind of playing around with what kind of pose or what kind of body composition I want to use for these. I knew that I wanted to keep the badger's head because of the distinctive eye markings, and I definitely wanted to give it antlers. I kind of go back and forth on if I want to give it hooves or if I want to give it claws. I do end up giving it this half and half combination, as you can see here. This is the final sketch. I think I went through about 3 other sketches there and just was not having it. But this composition worked the best for me. And I know it kind of looks like a bear, but honestly, badgers kind of look a little bit like small striped bears. And if this thing is going to be the size of a deer, it's basically going to kind of be about the size of a bear. So that worked out anyway. So now I'm just figuring out what color palette I want for this little guy here, and I decided to use the brown for the body since that was the closest to the deer's color, but that means that I couldn't use the brown for the horns, so I end up making the horns this outlandish like sour apple green. And I figured, like, you know, since this is supposed to be kind of like a fantasy creature combination, it doesn't really matter as long as the colors work well together. And because this was a pre-generated color palette, they're going to look well together, but color placement also plays into how well the colors commingle. Of course, I went with the darkest color in the palette for the line art because I'm not using black for these lines, and then also because that is the darkest color, I use that for the badger's eye markings, which are typically black, and also for the nose, but I give it a little bit of a yellow shine because I don't really have a lot of yellow in this except for the spots, and then highlights of course on the hooves and the claws and things like that. I then also use that dark red set to multiply, or was it overlays? I kind of switch back and forth between the two to do the shading, and I have this one a separate layer so that I can cut out my shading without messing up the colors underneath. So yeah, here's the first one. And so our next combination, as you can see, is a mole and a red panda. This was actually kind of easy because, as you can see on the bottom, the emotion's supposed to be bored, and the red panda that I have modeled up in the tree is, you know, already looking pretty chill. And also the fact that he's supposed to be sitting on a beach really helped make this composition easy to pull off. The main thing that I pulled from the mole, of course, because as you can see, the moles don't really have a lot of features, were those huge paws, and then the lack of eyes, and that little snooty mouth-nose combination. So I kind of go back and forth between deciding if I want to leave the panda eyeless like this, I think it looks kind of cool, or giving it some very tiny eyes. I do leave those tiny eyes on there for the most of it, and then I erase them again, and then I add different eyes that kind of make him look a little sleepy. For this one I was going for kind of a Mononoke spirit animal type thing, where the animals still look like animals, but there's something not quite right about them. So I was going for that feeling with this one. So here is our mole red panda combination. Moving on to our next one, we have a monkey and a hedgehog. This was another one that was easy to pull off just because of the references that I pulled for this particular combination. And again, as you can see, the emotion is freaky, and yeah, the monkey's face is kind of freaky. Fortunately, I have a strong stomach for nightmare faces, so this guy isn't gonna haunt my dreams, but I can't say the same for you guys. So I definitely try to push that creep factor and tried to turn the monkey's face into more of a mask. And my thinking was that underneath he has this cute hedgehog face. I don't know how well that translates because I didn't put any like mask type things on there other than really separating the face from the rest of the body. And pretty much the only thing I drew from the hedgehog was of course those little hairy quills, and then I made the back feet those teeny tiny paws. What's interesting is that both the monkey and the hedgehog have these little fleshy hands slash paws. So as far as choosing colors, those ended up being the quote-unquote skin tone, where of course everything else was like a fur color, and I ended up using the pinks for the fur and then the white, or the blue, to make the white for the quills.
So even though the monkey and the hedgehog don't have any sort of pattern on them other than the quills, this is where I decided to take a little creative liberty. And because my color palette is called Strawberry Milk, I thought it would be kind of fun to give it this like drippy, almost ice creamy type effect between the fur and the skin, or at least where the color differentiates. And then I kind of push that a little bit when I do the shading overlay. So I have this again set to multiply, and as you can see, I'm just kind of making some more like swoopy drips here and there, and just, I don't know, I just think it makes the design a little more fun. The face is still absolutely terrifying. I also decided to darken the lines because I had previously had them set to overlay, which made them that like white neon pink, but I changed it to multiply because it made the lines a lot bolder and you can tell what color it's supposed to be as far as the colors I was using for this palette. So yeah, I'm just adding in the final little details here and there. Even though this guy is kind of freaky, I do like the way he turned out. I won't say he's my favorite out of the batch, probably second favorite, because the panda mole combination really grew on me. He's so ugly, he's cute. But here is the monkey hedgehog combination. So we're moving on to our final, which is the otter and the donkey. So if you didn't think the previous one was terrifying, maybe this one will be. I'm trying to kind of start out with, I see my prompt here is that he's supposed to be fighting. So I put the donkey's head on the otter's body and he is just screaming at someone who's trying to take his lunch away. This was another one that was kind of so ugly it's cute. I think it's the tiny paws, because the donkey head, oh, this what have I done? This prompt was definitely fun and interesting to do. Would I do it again? I think it's gonna have to depend on the animal combinations I get, because I don't know. But I definitely stretched my imagination trying to figure out what features I should take from each animal and how the things should work together anatomically, especially when, you know, for this one, it's a land creature and the sea creature. Oh man. But anyway, I'm gonna stop talking now unless you guys enjoy what's left of the video. So here is our final animal abomination. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Here are all 4 of our animal combinations put together. We've got the deer badger, the mole red panda, the monkey hedgehog, and of course our donkey otter. Yeah, so like I said, I don't know if I'm gonna do this one again because this was definitely a weird one. It just depends on the animal combinations and if you guys like this video. Yeah, so let me know. And also, I haven't given these guys names, so if you want to name these guys down in the comments, feel free to do so. But until then, I'll see y'all next time. Have a weird day.